What's up, y'all? Man, yesterday's small group was so encouraging, bro. I'm so blessed to have this small group that I do. And just off the bat, encourage you to get in community. Like, who are the people who are around you that are helping you, that are pushing you, that are encouraging you toward Christ, toward the scripture, toward prayer, toward obedience? Man, if you don't have a group of people that's doing that, man, that is such a loss. It's such a loss for you as a believer if you don't have community who are in your corner. But man, small group was so good yesterday. One of the things that I struggle with as a small group leader is, oftentimes, if you've never led small group, you don't know what I'm talking about. But there are times where, you'd be leading and you're like, you want to focus on the text. You want to go through verse by verse. And the nature of the conversation sometimes just goes elsewhere. And not in a bad way, not like off topic, not like, disrespectful, but it just goes off of what you thought. It goes off of the track that you had intended. And oftentimes it used to bother me, bro. Like, why? Like, Lord, forgive me for not being faithful. I would get on myself. Again, I'm a very self-critical person. I'm working through that, with theology, how to navigate that, man. But it would be so tough, bro. Like, I want to focus on this, but the convo's going here. Recently, it's probably a couple of months ago, I've just said, Lord, trusting God in prayer, right? Trusting that when you pray to the Lord, he actually hears you, he actually responds, and his response is good. So, with that theology in mind, I just pray, I said, Lord, like, my heart, how I want to dive into the scripture this way. But I said, have your way, God. Like, people are leaving small group edified. They're leaving small group feeling closer to you, God. They're leaving small group energized and encouraged to continue in the scriptures, man. So, Lord, you take it. So, that has been happening, and it's just been amazing, bro. It's been so good. Yesterday we were in Nehemiah 6, and bro, if you have not read Nehemiah 6, especially verses 1 through 9, you got to read that junk, bro. You got to read it. And I will go to it right now, but I don't have like my whole display set up. But in Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 9, there's a character named Sanballat, and he's coming again to kind of distract Nehemiah. And one of the things that, and again, you got to read it. So one of the things that we was unpacking in this is that God has called us all to a great work. And great work doesn't mean big in size or big in impact in terms of like how many people, the scale of it. But the great work before us is any work the Lord puts before us. Sometimes we want to compare, we want to contrast, we want to look at what someone else is doing and kind of gauge the greatness based on that. But man, what we discovered in small group and what we discovered in the scripture was that, what the Lord has set before us is a great work, and we need to be faithful with that. But what we also unpacked in small group, man, was the fact of how persistent the enemy is. And I think it was either verse 4 or 5. I could be wrong. Again, read Nehemiah 6, verse 4 or 5. It speaks about Sanballat, after Nehemiah's initial rejection, going back to him 4 times, bro, to try to get him to stop the work of finishing the wall being rebuilt. And what we realized in small group as we were unpacking the scripture again was that not only does Satan try to distract us, but he is persistent in that pursuit, man. And we have to be aware of that, and we have to be on guard for that. Like, he wants to distract us. He wants to distract you, who's watching this video. One of the ways we talked about those distractions, man, was this little thing right here, bro, this device, but we also brought up one of the members, one of my former students. He brought up that memories can serve as distractions, man. And that hit us hard, bro. And that just kind of unpacked an entire time of us just really just confessing, just being real with one another, how certain memories and certain regrets have impacted us to where we think about them and we kind of mull over them. That's the right word. Stew over them, right? To the point where it distracts us from the work that the Lord has before us, man. So I guess my encouragement to you in that, in light of all that we discussed in our small group yesterday, man, is just to be cognizant of where your thoughts go. Be cognizant of where your thoughts go when great work is before you. If the Lord has called you to do something, and maybe a challenging thing, maybe something that's inconvenient, but you understand it is from the Lord, watch where your thoughts go, because I think oftentimes, and I could be wrong, but oftentimes our thoughts go to places of relief from the current thing we're dealing with. What do I mean? Remember in Exodus, when the Israelites, they were in the wilderness, the conditions weren't favorable, even though the Lord was dropping down manna from heaven. But in their minds, the condition was not favorable. And what did they say? In Exodus, it outlines the Israelites started to grumble, and they said, we remember our days in slavery when we had the onions and the melons and the leeks. And what they started doing is lusting after their place of slavery, bro. And it's like, you prayed to God to get out of slavery. And now you're out of slavery. You're praying and you're reminiscing on the days of slavery as if they were better than the days in the wilderness. And I think when we get to that place in our lives where the Lord's called us to something that's inconvenient, we often go back to how good it used to be. But in reality, that good that we're remembering, bro, was never good. or it may have been good for that season, but there's a reason we're out of it, right? There's a reason that we're out of it. And we need to just be faithful. We need to be faithful, man, with what the Lord has called us to. We need to be faithful to complete the task. To complete the task, to stick with the task. How often do we just start something and don't finish it? The word is clear. Count the cost, bro. If you've counted the cost and you've said, Lord, I'm going to do this thing, and you're in the midst of doing that thing, bro, finish it, bro. Finish it. Don't stop. Don't quit because it gets too hard or it's hard. Finish it. Honor the Lord by finishing it. Why? Because Christ finished it. If we want to be more like Christ, bro, we got to start completing things. We got to start being at a place where we say, what, if I say yes to this, even if I say yes to this in foolishness, I'm not going to backtrack, but I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to complete the task, So that's my encouragement, man. Get in community. Goodness gracious, get in community, fam. Let him talk into your life. Let him speak into your life. Let him hold you accountable. And whatever the Lord has called you to, whatever you started for the Lord, finish it, bro. Finish it. All right? Leah, man, if you're watching this, keep me in prayer. I'm bringing the word this Sunday at church. And preaching takes everything out of me, bro. Preparation takes everything out of me. But again, I'm called to remain faithful to the task and trust that the Lord is faithful, and that his word going forth is where true power comes in, not in my preparation or my PowerPoint slides or whatever the case may be, man. So, yeah, that's it for you guys. Hopefully y'all do well. Hey, how can I serve you, bro? For those who are watching, I want to be faithful to the community that I have. Oftentimes we lust for what we want, the community that we want, or the scale or the size that we want. But whoever I'm speaking to right now, I want to serve you, bro. So let me know how I can serve you. Let me know in the comments what videos you'd like to see. I can tailor the content to that because I'm just here to serve, bro. I'm just here to serve. All right. Love y'all, man. Peace.